Chapter 75. I lost the race. But only because Tauran cheated. Then after a nice shared snack, we left to steal a few jewels. Bingle gave us general directions to a remote compound to the south of the city, not far from the manor. The private property sits at the edge of a fishing village, with only a muddy road as an entry point. The reek of decaying life and scummy waters slap me in the face long before the wooden palisade surrounding our destination comes into view. Bingle did not tell us exactly where he would meet us, but since his stupid power makes everything run smoothly, we easily find him by his scent and the noise of heartbeats. A mortal would never have erred for hours trying to regroup, and that annoys me to no end. When I plan things, it must all be perfect, or I end up with half of the odd squad stuck in the ditch and the other half on fire or eating their horses because they ran out of food. Bingle can just say let's meet around here and everyone gathers without a hitch. It's not fair. We sneak up from behind and I enjoy some vindication when I muffle the soprano's startled yelp. There are 3 people hiding behind the bush when we arrive. Bingle, of course, in all his darkly charismatic glory, but also the singer Sarah, whose jewel they recovered safely from a hiding place, and a third man I had not met before. The newcomer is clearly not from around. He has bronze skin, and a soft face with melancholic traits and liquid brown eyes. The impression is tempered by a fierce mustache and an impressive stature. Ochre robes barely hide the man's rolling muscles. He also wears a white turban with a golden feather pointing upward. I am left wondering if we are truly trying to sneak in, and if we do, whether or not these people have any notion of camouflage. By comparison, I am wearing a traveling dress of midnight blue with a hood, while Tauran wears a suit and coat of the darkest gray, with the only glint being that of the steel sword by his side. In typical vampire fashion, even his slumming attire is of exquisite make. Ah, Ariane and Tauran, splendid timing as always. Bingle half whispers and half declaims. Please meet the esteemed warrior Sarvina, sent by my employer and friend to assist me in the recovery of the jewels. He left London just after I did and arrived only yesterday. Greetings Sahib, Sahiba, I am one of Princess Jalabnam's bodyguards, here to protect Bingle Sahib from his enemies, the tall man declares. We smile and shake hands and pretend that he is not here to keep an eye on things. Sarvina shows just a hint of apprehension when he meets Tauran's eyes and radiates disapproval when he meets mine. He discreetly spares a glare at Sarah, and so I assume his displeasure is due to the relative parity of the group. Very few societies bring their women in battle, much less for night operations. After the round of introductions is done, Bingle shares with us the nature of our task. This remote compound is the seat of power of Augustus Somerville himself. That unconscionable devil is ever ambitious. He is the one who sent the thieves after the other pieces of the scepter, and there is no doubt in my mind that he works hand in hand with the Princess Devious uncle. He will go to any length to see his grand adventure come to fruition, even if others must suffer for it. Pot, meet kettle. We must recover the jewels and abscond, promptly. My conversation with Somerville's licentious son at that poker tournament earlier today led me to believe the pieces are held here, in the man's office. He will have a safe which I will crack. Where will we find this office? Sarah asks with a small voice. A man like him is easy to read. His den will be at the highest point, as from those lofty heights, he gazes upon his dominion as he works to further his nefarious schemes. We turn to the compound. Bingle's hiding spot is slightly elevated, and this allows us to see a few roofs. The largest building is probably a warehouse. There are also 2 more, including a 2-storied office with quite a few windows. If Bingle did not miss his guess, this is where we will find the precious stones. Are you confident that you can open this safe? The tall Indian man asks with a bit of worry. I am, the adventurer proudly answers. I even know exactly which model he purchased thanks to a most thorough inquiry. It appears that Bingle did his homework. I should not be too judgmental. His father was perhaps helped by the hand of fate, but it was his competence that carried the story forward, and so it is with Junior. I must give the youth some credit. What force can we expect inside? Tauran asks. I expect no less than a dozen guards, and possibly more asleep. And that is the problem. The main entrance is closed for the night. I can spot from here the only road trailing through the marshy forest and to a set of double gates set on both sides by twin lookouts. Small movements show that the flimsy structures are garrisoned. Lanterns placed at regular intervals give the visuals a commanding view of their surroundings, enough to make a direct approach hazardous at best. We need to scale the walls, Bingle continues, and while I do have a rope, he points at a large dark bag by his feet, there are complications. Namely, they have patrols walking the perimeter. There will never be enough time for all of us to make the climb. Why must we all go? I ask with curiosity. A most astute question. Bingle replies, beaming, as if my questioning of his intellect was a source of pride. I need Melody Diaz here to verify the authenticity of the jewels themselves and alert me if I have been misled by decoys. She is the only one who saw them back in Europe. My father is a jeweler, the woman explains somewhat defensively. Well, isn't that convenient? Precisely. It would be riskier to carry out several infiltrations, not to mention that I will need someone to watch my back while I work on the safe. We need to bypass the patrol. A distraction? I would rather not. It could make them more alert and we would encounter a similar problem while going out. I suggest that we await the next change of the guard, then neutralize a patrol. How very bloodthirsty. I like it. The only problem I have is that they have dogs. Massive, ferocious beasts that would alert the group. I believe I can do something about it, I announce. Tauran appears surprised, though to his credit he does not question me in front of the others. I appreciate it, and let him know with an imperceptible nod. I have a way with dogs. My outrageous claim is welcomed with incredulity by both Sarah and Sarvina. Bingle, of course, does not doubt me. Excellent. Can't I rely on you to attract the attention of the patrol and keep their hounds calm? Meanwhile Sarvina and myself will sneak up on them and give them a good wallop. Afterward, feed us to the beasts, he says, as he passes me a somewhat sticky piece of flesh wrapped in paper. It is meat laced with sedative. Anything that swallows it will promptly fall asleep. I wonder why we can't just murder them all, dogs included, though I know better than to voice my concern. Just like anything involving that insufferable godling, we will produce a lot of effort for something that could be dealt with in 2 minutes straight if I could just go all out. Forget finding the combination of the safe, I would just massacre everyone and tear the blasted things from its wall and carry it to safety. But alas. Bingle. We decide that I will be assisted by Tauran for safety, and the next hour I spent considering contingencies and sharing information. I learn from Bingle that the compound has a pier, but that it is well lit and guarded without fail. I am, for one, appreciative of the fact that we will not swim inside, as I have witnessed firsthand what the water around a populous city looks like back in Charleston, and I am not eager to renew the experience. After a while, the 2 patrols on either side of the gate come in and new ones lazily take their place. I notice that the guards are foreigners wearing the same cloth as our brave bodyguard. We are in the right place. Those men are from Mahishuru, my home. Traitors, the lot of them. The man himself grumbles into his mustache. Bingle, de facto leader of the expedition, gestures us in and I silently follow Tauran to the right palisade. We circle around slowly to give our mortal counterparts time enough to prepare. Should I ask about the dog? I devoured the essence of an Arenwald vampire, and they have some control over animals and plants. Dogs no longer fear me. I can calm one long enough for us to feed it the poison food. Convenient. How about the mortals? Would you like to charm them? Or would you fancy an old-fashioned distraction? What's an old-fashioned distraction? I ask with narrowed eyes. We lie through our teeth, of course, Tauran replies, with a devious glint in his eyes. In fact, let's make a contest out of it, my star. Whoever tells the most shameless lie wins. Deal, I answer with a smile. Tauran is such a dart to find sources of amusement while sneaking through the underbrush like vulgar cattle thieves. I just hope the guards speak English. We settle to wait at the edge of the perimeter. Soon enough, Bingle Jr. and Sarvina are in position. I light the lantern and we step onto the road. The patrol spots us working in from seemingly nowhere and trots to us with a mix of fear and confusion on their gold-skinned face. I shove a tendril of essence into the growling beast before it can catch a good whiff of Tauran and go mad. The creature blinks owlishly. "What are you doing here? This is a private property," the first guard declares in a surprisingly good English. He twirls his mustache with fury while his barrel-chested companion caresses a truncheon while wearily eyeing my lover. "Private property? I bought these lands, sir, and here I take a midnight stroll only to find this hideous construct. Scandalous." "Absolutely," I add, not to be outdone. Besides, who would build their warehouse on an Indian burial ground? At the mention of a cursed locale, the mustachioed man's eyes bulge comically. He takes an involuntary step back, though he does not relent. "It does not matter. You can't be here. How dare you address me? I'll have you know I was a friend of Krishnarajawatiyar III, your previous ruler," Tauran claims, and for a moment the magic takes. Lit by the flame of the lantern, the vampire lord's stature and poise radiate power and barely controlled outrage. The hilt of the blade by his side reminds everyone that he is a warrior. He is domineering and mighty without using a smidgen of essence. I like that a lot. Also, he is not winning that contest. "Absolutely, you worthless curs. Can't you recognize who your illustrious guest is?" I declare with passion. "You have the honor of talking to the Duke of New York." The men of the patrol freeze, Savrajna freezes, even Bingle freezes at the shamelessness of such a claim. Tauran crosses his arms, as regal as any emperor. "Whatever you think you're doing, you'd better think fast," I add with a pointed look at our partners in crime. Clunk. 2 clubs smack the backs of the guards' heads and they collapse in a heap. I take out the meat and feed it to the still dizzy dog, who gulps the pieces down without complaint. I also find out that when Bingle said sedative, what he meant was a hefty dose of sweet liquor. The Duke of New York, HM. "You win this round, my star." "Damn right I do." We drag the unconscious bodies under some trees and leave the dog panting happily there, his leash tied around a nearby pine. I am left wondering why Bingle would refuse to slay an animal but so liberally clobber the head of his fellow mortals. So many times, I've had victims wake up not quite themselves or not as sharp as they used to be. The body is a fragile thing. Oh well, it's his operation. With the way reality bends around him, they will wake up with a light migraine and a newfound taste for scones and marmalade. Bingle throws a hook over the palisade and we climb wooden logs without difficulty, save for Sarah who has to be pulled up. The compound is just as we expected, a circular space of packed earth containing a large warehouse, a barrack, and a 2-storied office. In the back, a pier leads to the bay's murky waters. The inner court is much less lit than the exterior and there are no patrols. We head to the office with light steps, then wait as Bingle picks the lock. Junior can open doors and safes, I realize. Naughty. It takes less than half a minute for all of us to get in. After that, Bingle closes the door behind us and lights a candle, casting a fragile light on our surroundings. The room is actually a secondary storage space and its contents give me the first real bit of apprehension since the end of the hearing. The smell of black powder and the shape of some of the crates are a dead giveaway. "What is this?" Sarvina asks. I lean next to a nearby barrel and pop the lid open with my claws, then turn around and pretend it was already unlocked. Tauran rolls his eyes at the theatrics. "Is this?" Sarah asks. "Yes," I reply with an ominous voice, "we are in an armory. There are enough weapons here to arm 100 men." Svarajna swears in an unknown tongue while the soprano pales a bit. Bingle frowns but shakes his head. We knew about Somerville's ambition. This changes nothing. Without the Tiger Scepter, his candidate has no legitimacy. We must find the jewels with all haste. We nod and follow the intrepid adventurer up the stairs to a locked door, which offers only a modicum of resistance to our hero's nimble fingers. We all queue into Somerville's unreasonably vast office and take in our surroundings. I have seen some horrors in my watcher-forsaken existence. I have witnessed Murghol mana hounds feasting on the withered flesh of drained mages. I have gazed upon the corpses of starved children with bones cracked open, the marrow sucked by wendigos. I have seen the world slashed open like a cheap envelope, and still this shocks me to my very core. How can a man have such bad taste? How can the Christian God allow such horrors to be inflicted upon its children? From wall to wall, flashy colors, excessive decorations in gold paint clash with common sense in each other. Knickknacks of horrible craftsmanship fight for space with empty bottles of very expensive wine and fake jewel-encrusted cups. I learned that Somerville himself is a weaselly man of rotund proportion by the sheer amount of portraits and engravings of him plastered on the walls. There is even a large painting of him replacing Washington crossing the Delaware. In this piece of art, he is represented as being easily 7 feet tall. It's a miracle that my eyes are not bleeding right now. I turn to Tauron to ask if he is seeing this. Alas, the poor darling is leaning against the walls, eyes closed, gently massaging his temples. Right, Bingle says, reminding us of what is at stake, let us find the safe. I find the sang-froid admirable. I already want to set the place on fire and forget about the jewels. They must be cursed after staying here for more than a night anyway. We might as well deny Somerville his assets and be done with it. Why can't those adventures be simple hunts where we chase some prey and eat a werewolf or two at the end? Those are nice, straightforward tasks with a meal included, but no, we must absolutely investigate the den of the sin of pride's most tasteless avatar. Bingle starts working around, soon followed by Sarah and then by Svarajna. It will be difficult to locate a small safe in this cluttered space. Unless, of course, it is defended by magic. A diffuse aura comes from behind a grandfather clock. I inspect the horrid thing and quickly notice a button, simply because the depression is covered in food grease and thus slightly less shiny than the rest of the contraption. I press it and with a clank, the upper part slides to the side to reveal a depression in the wall, and the safe therein. Well done, Mrs. Delaney, well done indeed, Bingle whispers as he walks to me. I make a hand gesture to hold and search one of the pockets on my cloak. I expected to face a vampire, and to some extent, magic. I came prepared. I retrieve a pinch of white powder from a metal canister and blow it upon the safe's surface. In the darkness of the room, the powder spreads across a circular construct like morning frost over a spider's web, leaving it glittering softly. The spectacle is as beautiful as it is worrying. Do you know what this is? Bingle asks while his two companions cross themselves and set my teeth on edge. I study the revealed construct. It is flimsy, and there lies the problem. I could break through most spells worked upon a surface this small, and in this case it would be useless. This is an alarm, and before you ask, I do not have the means to disarm it. As soon as you start working on the safe, the net you see will snap and alert the person to whom it is attuned, most likely Somerville. In order to bypass these defenses, one would have to slowly pull on each strand until the construct is either displaced or rolled in so as to prevent it from triggering. Unfortunately, it requires fine magical control, a skill I do not yet possess. Behind me, Tauron does not react. He is unwilling or unable to assist. No matter the reason, I trust his judgment on this matter. Somerville is spending time with a lady of the night, in an establishment not far from here. This would leave us a quarter of an hour before the ruffian's arrival. We could do it. And possibly escape. How? I ask, more as a formality than out of real concern. Worry not, m'lady, I have a secret trump card that will save the day. Fair enough, I reply, my doubts assuaged. We should use this opportunity to fortify this location, just in case, Tauron adds with a wink in my direction. I consider his words as the bodyguard voices his assent. 15 minutes of preparation. 100 guns. Enough gunpowder to blow Somerville's hired help back to India by way of the moon. Bingle, you are officially forgiven. A very astute remark, my love. Let's get to it. Sarah stays with the gentleman thief to hold his lantern, no innuendo intended, as the three of us make our way downstairs, and I try not to giggle like a child on Christmas morning. I light a few lanterns and take stock of what we have while the two muscular beefcakes get to work boarding the windows. I elect to create a small diversion by stepping outside with a few barrels of powder, then quickly return and start loading one musket after another at the very edge of human speed. Sarvina sometimes stops to watch with disbelief, before moving more empty crates to block the way in. Soon enough, Tauran volunteers to carry loaded firearms upstairs while the bodyguard and myself keep loading with determination. I slow down to be just slightly faster than him. I will not ridicule him, but I will not spare his feelings either. Bingle Sahib said your father was a great hunter, the greatest one who ever lived. Is that true? I consider his words. The story I made up for Cecil Rutherford Bingle was one of cursed totems and twisted wishes, with my father dying from his passion, burned to a crisp by the Don's son as he was returning from a hunt. Regardless of those lies, Nirari is my father after a fashion, and he is indeed the greatest hunter who ever lived. Yes, it is. Are you a huntress as well, Lady Delaney? I look up from a powder-filled pan and meet the Mysore warrior's eyes. There is no longer any sign of disapproval in the stoic man. Yes. I thought so. The spirit of the goddess of war Durga is with you. I can feel the Shakti, the energy when you move. Tonight, we will defeat our enemies together with your husband and return the scepter to its rightful owner, the princess. I hear a snicker from the stairs at the mention of matrimony. Hold your horses, Tauran, I am not tamed just yet. We will, Sarvina. Somerville will regret ever keeping those stolen artifacts. We continue loading the guns with renewed focus. Our group has more than 60 primed weapons at its disposal by the time Tauran knocks on a wood beam and points upward. We gather the last of them and climb up to the second floor, where we find Bingle sitting at a table and working on a secondary lockbox. The safe lies gutted, and yet the jewels are still not ours. It appears that Somerville took additional precautions. I believe it would be better to take the lockbox and run for it. The danger of being trapped is superior to that of having the jewels be taken to another, more secure place. I suppose it is not my call. The show must go on. We turn to the compound's entrance, where a fire snake of men bearing torches descends. A pair of sentinels jumps from the guard tower and hurries to the door. I need a few more minutes, says Bingle, tense, if only there was a way to slow them down. In answer, I open the window closest to the office's door, grab a lantern and throw it down under the mortal's petrified gaze. The glass smashes open and burning oil ignites the pile of powder I had left there. Fire spreads through the trail I left for it, arching its way to the barrels I hid beside the left tower. The guards let out dismayed cries when they spot the impending danger. They flee as fast as their legs can carry them to the cover of the nearby barracks. The flames reach the barrels and seemingly peter out. I duck. Sir Lux turns to me and asks, "Oh, they were extinguished like thunder on a cloudless sky." The explosion takes everyone off guard. Horses neigh and riders swear as flaming wreckage rains upon the marshland. A plume of smoke and embers soon hides the riders from view with the collapsed guard tower lying across the entrance. "Not extinguished," I reply as I remove my fingers from my ears. "What? Oh dear. Very impressive, Miss Delaney. I will require but a few minutes to implement my plan." "Do tell, are some of the guards of the Indian persuasion?" Bingle says. "Yes." "Splendid. Do kindly try not to kill them." "You're asking me to miss?" I ask, outraged. "Of course not, Milady, I only ask that you aim somewhere else." "Well, he got me there. I will be downstairs, my star." "You may shoot to your heart's content," Tauran says on his way down. With him there, I can focus on blasting targets away without fear of being overrun. I would be grateful if I did not suspect that his sacrifice was motivated by his dislike of muskets. He's a bit old-fashioned as vampires go, after all. With the surrounding of the main gates at roasting temperature, the palisade is now working against Somerville's troops. I hear a strident voice screaming orders to get over the damn wall. It appears that some of our foes brought ropes, as the first few lassos fly over the edge of the logs. On the ground below us, the men of the garrison test the windows for a way-in. I wish them the best of luck and line up a shot. Above the palisade, a glorious red feather rises, soon followed by a shiny white turban, soon followed by a pair of inquisitive eyes. Mindful of Bingle's orders, I shoot the observer's hat off his head, provoking a yelp and a backward fall. It's not my fault if they break limbs, I really cannot be blamed for that. For good measure, I shoot the rope tied around the palisade, causing someone else to fall. It does not take long for the would-be assailants to try their luck elsewhere. Honestly, I could have just waited and shot them as they came. Bingle's rule is too restrictive. I sincerely hope there is a reason for that. Then comes the hard part. Our enemies find a section of the wall covered by the barrack and manage to go over it while behind cover. Then, they join up with the rest of the guards to besiege us. Soldiers pick up axes and crowbars to force their way in while others shoot the windows to keep us busy. Thankfully the light does not reach up to us and the walls are thick, so we are relatively protected. Unfortunately, there is only so much I can do to deter the Indian soldiers without killing them. Even grazing blows do not faze the stalwart warriors as they peel windows open with grim determination. Local goons I saw at the theater are mixed in the lots. Those, I kill without hesitation whenever I can. Unfortunately, there is only so much I can do while making sure I am not hit by stray bullets. It would be awkward to bear the mask of humanity for so long only for the others to see me close a hole in my skull. It does not take long before the first guards pull stabbed hands from under broken shutters. Tauran is buying us a few precious seconds in a game of delays. I resist the urge to pressure the adventurer as even Svarjena has given up on aiming and just fire blindly between two enemy volleys. Sarah is in a corner, praying and most likely reconsidering her life choices. I feel strangely excited. There is a stake now. Without much recourse, I simply keep firing until Tauran walks up the stairs and slams the door closed behind him. Too many breaches, he comments with a small smile. I nod and smash my musket on the fingers of a man who was trying to climb. He falls back with a resounding roar. Very well, mister. Next time, I shall just stab you. I retreat to the center of the room. An attacker appears at the rear window and gets back down with a broken nose. Another takes his place while to the side, two more pop up. I bash a skull and grab a gaudy goblet which I use as an improvised projectile on another, forcing them back. I got it. Bingle screams, and not a moment too soon. The bangs on the door cease and men stop climbing. Silence descends upon the base until a strident voice breaks it. It drips with contempt and lowly pretension. Surrender, you fools, and I shall be merciful. I do not need deep insight into human nature to know that there will be no mercy. We violated this person's, well, sanctum, and humiliated him. Such an act demands retribution. Bingle lifts 2 jewels the size of quail eggs from the lockbox, soon adding a third one from his pocket. They shine like embers in my sight and in my aura. There is power here, not just symbolic but mystic as well. He turns to the shattered window and approaches it without a hint of fear. I step by his left with Tauran in support, while Sarvina takes the other. Sarah is still hiding. Who dares soil the abode of Augustus Somerville? The strident voice resumes. I look down to find our interlocutor and realize my previous misconception. I thought the painters had done Mr. Somerville a disservice by giving a rotund and sniveling frame. They were instead granting him a favor, but alas, there are some appearances for which art can do little. 'Tis I, Nathan Riley Bingle, you villainous coward, you bumbling mass of nefarious grease, you spineless bulb of quivering lard. 'Tis I who shall be your doom. Ha! You move that wicked tongue of yours in vain. From where I am standing, the doomed one is you. Appearances can be deceiving, as you shall soon learn. Under the mesmerized gaze of 100 men, Bingle takes the pommel ending his silver cane. The globe retracts, then rotates under his hand, and splits open in half to reveal underneath the maw of a mighty beast the tiger scepter. A man down below screams, and the crowd erupts in agitated whispers in a tongue I do not understand. Undaunted, Bingle calmly places all the stones in indents made to this end. As the sapphire locks in place, a magical circuit is formed in pale light emanates from the artifact of power, pushing away the darkness and the harsh red glare of torches. One by one, the many Indian soldiers dropped to their knees in amazement. Bingle is breathtaking. The dashing adventurer is no longer as rakish as before. His black hair shines under the pale glow, and his black eyes convey power and serenity I had never seen in immortal. A sense of wonder erupts from my heart as I gaze upon what could have been, had this reality been slightly less rigid. All the sagas and stories that could have been written and all the heroes of the past are here now before me, trapped in the nets of causality and yet still shining upon the world. They carry with them tales as old as time, whose mere mention robs even the most jaded men of their disbelief, if only for a moment. That glow radiating outward does not impose a will, instead it asks the question, what if? What if there were true heroes, true tales, true reality-defying magic? What if there were more to life than barring physics and realistic odds? What if we could be amazed once more? Bingle makes me believe it could happen. I gaze upon the face of the godling and take Tauron's hand in mine. Our eyes meet and I see with pleasure the weight of timelessness momentarily lifted from his shoulders. Whatever silliness we have been through, this made it all worthwhile. I will cherish the memories I made today until the moment I return to the ashes. No. Kill him. The hysterical traitor bellows. One of his men hesitantly lifts a rifle. A terrible roar of outrage erupts over the compound. Everywhere I look, Miser exiles rise and overtake Somerville's mooks like an angry wolf pack. The slippery scoundrel himself only finds salvation by using his considerable girth to plow a way to the gates. Unfortunately for him, he forgot about his main foe. Bingle quickly attached his rope to the window frame and rappels down smoothly. He runs after his quarry and the soldiers part before him like the Red Sea before Moses. Sarvina turns to us, stupefied. You do not understand. Everyone can hold a scepter. Only those worthy can make it shine so. Ha, what a great twist. On the ground, Bingle has caught up. Somerville casts a desperate glance behind him and drops on the ground to grab a musket, turning it on his pursuers. Back, back, you vile criminal. How dare you do this to me? Know your place. Behind Somerville, the second guard tower creaks ominously. Your dastardly plans are at an end, Somerville. Surrender now, and you may yet live. Surrender? To the likes of you? Never. I will leave this place and rebuild my empire, and then I shall come for you, you meddling troublemaker. Your words are empty, you sweaty globe of soot. Justice from above will strike you down. Ha, I'd like to see that. With a last crack, one of the supports of the second mirador snaps and the great structure collapses. I watch, mesmerized, as a large beam falls on Somerville's disbelieving face. There is a vile crunching sound, and the shifty man is no more. Then you should have been on the lookout, Bingle deadpans. By the watcher. The ironic end, the banter, the horrible pun and its delivery. They are so bad they are good. I turn to Tauron with a bright smile, though he remains unamused. With a frown, he leans in and whispers as the victors cheer and rejoice. This isn't over. Indeed not, the vampire did not show up. That is all for tonight, however. Let us return. Chapter 76. I dodge low and sweep the blade with my spear. The foe is strong, diverting his strikes takes all my might. Fighting during the day is wrong, I should hide and rest, but being prepared pays off and I need to train now in case I get caught off guard one day. My thoughts are sluggish and moving is difficult. Sometimes I need to stop and remind myself that I am fighting. Vampiric speed is all but impossible. Thankfully, I am not entirely defenseless. My strength and agility are still my own, though it takes everything I have to keep that specific enemy at bay. Tauron lunges, feints and stabs again. I counter and dodge back at the same time, just the way Nami showed me. My lover is forced to abort his attack to deflect the strike aimed at his heart. The gesture is small and effortless. He lightly slaps the blow aside, then his assault resumes. He is grim and relentless, a veritable storm of steel that follows me with no respite. By comparison, my style is much more chaotic. I am often low to the ground except for lunges, and change direction constantly. I keep the patterns as unpredictable as possible, capitalizing on every opening and opportunity I can spot. We are relentless perfection and savagery opposed, but the advantage is his. Despite my speed, I only managed to strike his flank once and paid for it by a slash to the face. By comparison, my training gear is already covered in scratches and tears. We face each other with steel blades so any wound closes promptly, but the sting to my pride does not heal so easily. He struck my heart at least 5 times. Tauran controls a sphere around him where his existence is tyranny, and he attacks with a relentless will that grinds all opposition. Despite my best efforts, my concentration wanes, and I am soon entirely on the back foot. One of his slices catches me across the shoulder and sends me careening through the training room. Night falls. I feel alive. Energy courses through my veins as everything gets back into focus and my mind sharpens to a deadly point. Then something unusual happens. I have practiced diligently with the cards Aisha gave me. 2 times out of 3 now, I can predict the outcome, and whenever I do, I feel a pull towards a direction that does not exist. Not exactly inward but close. I feel it now. With perfect clarity, I can tell exactly where Tauran's blow will fall, even with my back to him. At the last moment, I twist on myself. His blade rakes against my chest protector as I stand and swing at the same time. My blind talons find purchase in the flesh of his throat. Yes, you are mine now. Something pointy presses into my chest. His sword. I stop. Tauran's steel-gray eyes capture me. They're filled with pride. Beautifully done, my star. Not so bad yourself, Tauran. You were right, this was a good idea. Of course, I was. He replies, feigning outrage. Behind us, 2 mortal attendants wait with equipment in the manor's largest training room. One of them is a slightly older, burly man with a satisfied grin, while the other is younger and obviously witnessing vampires fight for the first time. If he opens his mouth anymore, I will be able to shove a whole egg in its cavernous depths. We are alone for now in that bare room of dark stone, though soon vampires and mortals alike will tread its vast expanse, using dummies and targets to hone their skills, while the most adventurous will make their way to the circle we now stand on. With nightfall comes something else. I feel, once again, a pull. There is something that I should be doing, but I am not quite sure why, only that it is important. Shall we continue? Hold on, dear, there is something. What is it? I am not sure. A hunch. Tauran waits in silence as I close my eyes and focus. Alas, getting anything else is impossible. I am simply not good enough yet, and the meaning escapes me. All that I can perceive is a diffuse sense of forgetting something, or of having a destination in mind, though I do not know which. I do not know. Is it related to Bingo? Likely, yes. Then let us not stay here and find him instead. I frown in frustration. Did Nashoba not tell me that real-life work would serve me better than blindly following hunches? And here I am, already forgetting. After a quick passage through changing rooms designed to this effect, we leave the blades in the hands of the 2 attendants and depart the arena. The training room is situated underground and is well provisioned with all manner of weapons, including pistols. The dueling ground is covered in sands to absorb spilled blood, a necessary measure for us. I follow Tauran up a set of stairs dug into the very stone and through massive vault doors locked in case of emergencies. We are only in the first basement, and I am not sure exactly how deep into the earth's crust the complex extends. I have little interest to find out, especially because the torture room is 2 levels below. We quickly make our way to the front desk where we find Sophia, Constantine's assistant. The unusual Rosenthal stands straight as a rod, with brown hair and a prim tail in her hand on a saber by her side. What can I do for you? Are there any messages for either of us? No. Expecting something in particular. We are helping a godling. Someone touched by fate. He may have tried to contact us. The woman considers our problem for a moment. Could you describe him? Dark hair, dark eyes, shaven, wears black, and carries a cane? Yes. He is down the road at the first checkpoint. We blocked his access for we did not know him. I was about to have him brought in for interrogation. Would you like to see him? Yes, have him brought up and wait in the lobby. I will be right back. I turned to leave while Tauran finds a seat to wait. The night passed. We helped Bingle take the scepter. I would not be surprised if the vampire at the other end of the chessboard had played their turn. If it is the case, it ends tonight, and quite likely through a physical confrontation. Time to try Loth's armor. I moved to my bedroom, scaring Solveig on the way and throwing the special wardrobe open. The battle dress awaits me in all its baleful glory. I undress until all that remains are my small clothes and put it on. I fasten it piece by piece, feeling the protective garment fit snugly until I am clad in it as in a second skin. Once this is done, I take a second to stretch and luxuriate in the feeling of the silk-like fabric against my skin. Each scale slides in position with uncanny precision, leaving me completely free to move. I then grab throwing knives, my silver dagger and the spear, finishing with the silver pistol I took from Father Perry, the oldest piece in my collection. I tie my hair and grab my old mask from a container, the one I had worn at the masquerade, though I do not yet put it on. I am ready. A minute later, I reach the lobby once more and smile at the sight. The room is packed with vampires here to see the godling. The lobby's couches, normally mostly empty, are now filled with a variety of my kindred and their servants. Some pretend to read books while others confer, or plot, in low voices. An annoyed-looking older woman is knitting, her brow furrowed. In the middle of it, Bingle sits sheepishly by Tauran's side. The adventurer has lost some of his flame. His clothes are in disarray and deep pockets have formed under his eyes. Even his back, normally ramrod straight, has a slight bend to it. Something bad happened. I sit by his side and skip the pleasantries. "Talk to me." "I was a fool," he exclaims bitterly. This is the first time I have seen him expressing negative emotions with such strength. "Elaborate?" He sighs. He gently massages his temples with shaky hands. "We were betrayed. Unknown assailants found our hiding place and kidnapped Miguel, Sarah's cousin, while we were away. They killed Sarvina. Stabbed him to death. While I was checking for traps, Sarah found the ransom notice. She absconded with it in a scepter, only leaving me with a hastily scribbled note and vague apologies. I know from her words that the exchange will be made at nightfall, but she did not tell me where. The more I look, and the more I see the myth fraying at the edges. Stubble mars his pointy chin, his traits are drawn and his eyes bloodshot. The most fascinating element is that he is still himself, a godling. He only now represents another aspect of the adventurer, the jaded one, the one who drowns memories and lost friends with gin and carries a gun instead of a cane. We are at a junction. I am not obligated to do anything, I can feel it. The pull of fate disappeared at the very moment I sat at this table. I could just tell him to fight his own battles and drive the hero down a darker path, one of vengeance and knives in the night. Along this route, there would be more opportunities for me to use him to my own ends. I won't. I have enough darkness around as it is. Soon, this period of respite will be over and I will return to my scheming, ruling, and the wholesale slaughter of mortals who overstep themselves. Bingle is the vaguely annoying yet cute cub that offers distractions regardless of one's own plans. Yes, Bingle is my puppy, I realize. I should not kick the puppy away. Besides, we are playing a game, that other vampire and I are winning. It is my turn to play and it would be a shame if I had gotten changed for nothing. I emerge from my thoughts to see that the atmosphere around us has changed. The spectators of the scene stare not at the daring man but at me in my armor. The spear by my side shines with the flickering red of the hearth. The scent of Wilhelm's flower arrangements clash with that of vampire and human sweat. They want to see what I will decide. Some look eager. They know that one does not dress as I do for a tea party. I turn to Solveig who had followed me down and asked her to inquire after Salim. We will need his petmage, Sarl, to track down the unruly artist. Do you have the message she left you? Yes, he replies, taking a folded sheet from his breast pocket, here. I pick it between two talons and unfold it. The writing is horrible, barely more than pinpricks. I also spot two wet marks, quite likely tears of regret that cannot end there unless shed on purpose. Sarah's tasteless antics will end up making our task easier. It will work. I turn to the Bingle and take his hand in mine. He shivers at their coldness, and only now does he notice how sharp my nails are. You know that I am different, don't you? You can feel it in your heart when our eyes meet, when you see me move. I do. That curse, his Adam apple bobs as he swallows his saliva with more nervousness than he had ever displayed. It changed you. Correct. It changed me. It also showed me a world that was previously hidden. I can find the woman for you, but then you will know, and that will make me vulnerable. I can keep a secret. Good. What you see tonight, you will not write down, and you will not report either. You will keep it secret. Will you do that? Of course. I am grateful for your help, Miss Delaney. I would never betray your trust. I nod and fall silent. It doesn't take long for Salim and Sorrel to show up. I suspect that they were already on their way to this impromptu gathering. I negotiate a tracking spell in a cade with the smiling Salim, and the serious Midge immediately gets to work. Tracking spells are simple constructs for those with proper training. We have our compass in only a few minutes. I hope it is not too late, says Bingle. Normally it would be, but the enemy being a vampire, perhaps they have not had the time to reach the exchange point. Something tells me that the godling's strange effect on reality would at least grant him a chance, though I am not so certain. Arriving just a tad late would be a good plot twist. If we want to have a chance, we will need speed. Follow, I say, and go to the counter where Wilhelm is waiting. The blond man's dark eyes fasten on my guest with a predatory intent. Bingle feels it and shivers. Wilhelm. Would you have a mount for my guest? We do not lend nightmares, even the half-blood ones, to mortals. He is no mortal. Wilhelm turns his attention to me. His considerations are short. After a few seconds, he reluctantly nods. Very well. I do expect compensation. You will complete a task for me in return. Of little danger, and no more than a single night. Agreed. Go to the front of the manor, I will join you there. Join me? Behind us, Tauran walks up. Wilhelm will want to keep an eye on his mount, my star. Would you care for my company? It will make the journey faster. Of course, dear, though I would prefer it if you left our foe to me. It is your hunt. Clan Natalus offers assistance with your ride. House Nirari, comes a low, rumbling voice from behind. Lord Jarek is here, dressed in custom-fitted hunting leathers. It looks good on him, though I suspect there is enough material involved to build a tent. It has been too long and the occasion could not be better. Will you allow it? I will, I add without hesitation. If there were a price, he would have mentioned it, and I will not look a gift lord in the mouth. We walk out. The pull of fate is silent now. It has been replaced by another, a sort of momentum that carries me forward and gives more weight to my steps. I am not sure what is happening, all I know is that it will be special. I turn to Bingo. He needs to understand. What you will experience now is a rare privilege, I inform him. To ride by our side, vampires who have lived through hell and slaughtered legions. I know this to be true. Bingle nods, his expression serious. The weight of his failure has been momentarily lifted from his shoulders by his burning curiosity. He is still an adventurer at heart, and nothing speaks of adventure quite like a hidden order of whatever he thinks we are. The unexpected excitement is making him positively giddy. Our little procession stops at the edge of the inner court and Jarek steps forward. I claim the lead as eldest. In my mind, the possibility of denying him dies before it can truly be born. Jarek is the eldest, and strongest. He shall lead the ride to a satisfactory conclusion. It is as should be. Above, the Watcher's tendrils uncoil lazily. It likes it when I experience things, I can tell. The vague feeling of satisfaction is both alien and clear beyond any doubt. The Natalus Lord steps forward and whistles. The ground rumbles with the weight of ungodly hooves. The largest horse I have ever seen comes forth from the darkness. Massive. There are no other words for it. I thought Metis large, and she is, but she is also built for speed and power both. This newcomer is a charger, bred to carry armored knights to and through enemy lines. Its dark saddle is so high that I would never be able to drag myself up to it without jumping. The beast waits placidly as Jarek hoists his gigantic frame onto it. The size of the pair plays with my sense of perspective, until the dense forest leading to the bay comes into focus and I am forced to accept reality. They really are that big. If famine, war or pestilence came to herald the coming of the apocalypse, they would look like that. Excitement fills my heart. Crowware is next and Tauran takes Jarek's right, then Wilhelm comes and takes his left, pulling behind him a shorter nightmare. I help Bingle up and climb on a visibly excited Metis by his side. We are right behind the Natalist Lord on either side of him. Jarek turns briefly to ascertain that we are all ready. To our right, the balconies are filled with mortals and vampires who observe us in silence. The scene is deathly quiet as they wait for us to start. Jarek lifts a gauntlet-covered hand to the heavens, then forward. His unnatural destrier walks at a leisurely pace. We follow. We are slow, so deceptively slow, but there is, again, this momentum carrying us forward with the energy of an avalanche. We cross the bend at the top of the plateau and descend down the road along the cliff at a trot. The guards have opened all the gates and cleared the way. We trot down, our coming announced by a rumble like an emergent quake. We reach flat ground. Jarek lifts the compass in his armored hand. The construct looks no bigger than a marble between his giant fingers. The needle pointing southeast shines a strange purple hue. We accelerate. Everything up to now was but a preparation for the real event. Wind pushes strands of hair from my face as trees and road drift past, the group now moving at a furious gallop. We ride. We move into a forested path and soon, there is nothing but us and the way forward. The deafening sound of nightmares trampling the ground expands and reverberates until we are no longer few, but an endless horde charging through an infinite forest to a battlefield at the end of time. Under the sky and its eldritch denizen, we ride, and we cannot be stopped. Nothing exists but the smooth movements of Metis, our destination in front, and the other predators by my side, united in purpose. I do not know how long it takes for us to come in view of the clearing, probably less than a quarter hour. It felt both like much more and much less. Jarek holds a fist and we slow down. It is over. For a moment there, I was part of something great. With only 4 of us, I felt like Attila's adoptive daughter riding down Aetius legions. What could we achieve with 20, 100? It will likely never happen. Vampires are too divided, too solitary. But perhaps, one day. I shake my head to regain my senses. This is a thought for another time. Climbing down from Metis takes only a moment, one the others used to leave on their own business. I am left with a dazed Bingle, my own death pony and the mystical equivalent of the hangover. The adventurer is the first to recover and I realize that he's quite committed to his cause. I shake my head and follow his skulking form, realizing that if evil befalls the soprano, the opera season will be ruined. I need to focus on what is important. The clearing around us overlooks the Dorchester Flats, with Boston far to our left. It used to be lived in but now lies abandoned and desolate. A single large structure stands in the middle, surrounded by overgrown vegetation on all sides. Upon closer inspection, the building is less a house and more a hall of some sorts with a glass cupola at its top. There are no lights and besides footsteps in the tall grass, no signs that this place has seen human presence in years. The contrast between the decrepit shell and the bustling city in the background is mesmerizing. Bingle does not care for this at all. While the experience of the ride distracted me, it made him more focused. He crosses the unkempt lawn and angry strides up to the door. I catch up to him before he can rush in. He turns to me, his face showing well and just a hint of bloodlust. Did I change the story, somehow? I will cover you in case something goes wrong, I tell him. He nods in silence. As an afterthought, I pick up my silver pistol and present it to him, handle first. He carries another cane tonight and I fear that this one might not suffice. Take it. You may be heavily outnumbered. I expected him to resist and I am surprised when he picks the weapon with a grip that shows training. My debt towards you only grows, he notes with a frown, before sneaking in without a sound. Time to see the story to its conclusion. I look up and easily jump to the second floor, then to the dilapidated roof. I make my way to the cupola and realize with pleasure that one of the glass panels has been broken. I lean in and look below. The remnants of a library occupies the massive open space beneath, carrying the scent of mold and a familiar spice. The walls are covered with empty bookshelves, now only hosting a handful of rotten tomes. A smattering of candles brings light to the desolate place, though I doubt mortals can see more than a few feet away. In the center, 3 people occupy a space left clear by the removal of work desks. I recognize the soprano of course, currently trussed up like a turkey, but also her cousin Miguel, who appears to be suspiciously devoid of bindings. He is talking to a man in an expensive jacket that has seen better days. They are speaking in Spanish, and though I do not understand the content, they are clearly disagreeing with each other. I now understand why Bingle would mention betrayal. Those two are conspirators, not enemies. I turn my attention to the new man. He holds in his hands the tiger scepter. The artifact is the only thing of beauty in this den of treachery and neglect. Curiously, I feel revulsion at the thought of taking it from him. Intriguing. I extend a tendril of essence down and to him, tasting his own. He is far and the exercise strains my control. The result is a vague sense of dampened aggression. A vassal. It appears that the decisive round of our little game will be played by our main assets. I will bet on the godling over whoever this one serves any night of the week. After all. Click. Drop the staff, raise your hands in the air and step aside from the woman, slowly. My agent came prepared. The unknown vassal looks hesitantly to Miguel, then to the scepter in his hands. I have not had to shoot anyone in 2 years, sir, but do not think for a second that I would hesitate. His voice is cold and commanding. Desperation brought out the pragmatism in my companion. He would make a good vassal himself. No, Ariane, better not go there. I have enough trouble with mysterious and seemingly unstoppable entities as it is. No need to look for trouble. The reality of their circumstances finally dawns on the pistonless pair. The vassal delicately places the tiger scepter on the ground and stands back while giving his partner a knowing look. They are about as subtle as 2 gravid elephants in a china shop. Bingle does not acknowledge that he is aware of the cousin's duplicity. He walks up towards the prostrate form of Sarah, now letting out muffled growls. Her treacherous cousin steps back into the side. I always wondered how you knew Miss Diaz had the stone, the adventurer says. His eyes are curiously on the ground by his side as he keeps his gun on the vassal with a lazy aim. I watch with rapt attention as Bingle lays his trap. It will be good, I am sure of it. Miguel takes a hidden stiletto from his sleeve and creeps forward while Sarah moans impotently in her gag. Or how a warrior like Sarvina could be caught off guard. Now I know. All the evidence. It happens fast. Miguel jumps and a glint of light reflects in the collapsed glass panel beneath me. I realize where the adventurer has been staring. He used the missing glass pane as a mirror. Bingle rounds on Miguel. He holds the pistol in a hammer grip and slams it into the traitor's hand. The other holds his cane below the pommel and presses a hidden button. A sharp blade snaps out of the implement's end before seamlessly getting buried in the traitor's tender abdomen. Points to you, Miguel. Ah, he could not resist, could he? I smile, and since my time has come, I put on my mask and drop down through the shattered canopy, onto an empty bookshelf. I land in a crouch without disturbing its delicate balance, and not even the half-rotten wood groans under my light touch. The vassal was prepared and rushes forward. Only when Miguel's blood dots the floor with crimson droplets does he realize his predicament. His hesitation costs him dearly. Bingle turns around and calmly aims. He pulls the trigger. A form moves through the room from a nearby hallway and interposes itself as the shot goes off. I recognize her now. She was at the party with 2 courtiers claiming to seek asylum. I remember little from her except that she is a Roland. Her face is strict and average with thick black hair, giving her the appearance of a governess, perhaps. She wears a black set of leather armor with plates around the heart and a metal choker. The bullet bites deep into her shoulder and I delight in the look of pain and surprise when she realizes that I only ever pack silver. Her 2 courtiers are close behind and spread on either side of her. Their armor is similar and they hold dueling swords which they aim at Bingle. The one on the left has the appearance of a veteran soldier and knows how to use his weapon, while the one on the right is more bookish and clearly isn't enjoying himself. "Let it go, child," the woman says with a hint of wariness. "You should know when you are outclassed." I believe this is my cue. I slowly clap while releasing my aura. It washes over the trio like a wave, forcing them to take a step back as I drop down. I slowly walk up to the small gathering, my smile hidden behind the mask. This is just so deliciously dramatic. I could not have put it better myself. You. Yes. Me. You should have expected it, facing against a godling. While we talk, Bingle doesn't waste time standing around doing nothing. He unbinds a protesting Sarah who pushes him away with tears in her eyes. He lets her go and grabs the scepter at his feet. "You have no right to oppose me. I am merely reclaiming what is rightfully ours. We are protected by our status as seekers and attacking us is a violation of the Neutrality Covenant." "Ah, yes, that specific law, the one that is aimed at protecting newcomers from retribution. Tell me, do you know the obligations that come with such status?" I ask innocently. The woman's expression turns hesitant. She thought she could lawyer me. Hilarious. I learned the accords through and through because my survival depended on it. In order to benefit from immunity, you must forfeit all previous allegiances and arrangements, including current operations. Yes. That includes retrieving a scepter from the hands of a godling. Your status will be revoked as soon as Constantine learns of your machinations. Then I am sorry but you leave me no choice. You must be silenced until we can depart. I regret that I cannot give you a fair fight, she says, and draws. I feel the same way. After all, there are only 3 of you, I reply mockingly even as her vassal leaves. She charges in with her 2 companions in support. I sweep at the approaching figure only for the left courtier to dash forward after the retreating forms of my allies. I smirk. Using one of Nami's tricks I step back and strike the approaching master at the same time. I channel the Nautilus essence and the strength of the blow catches her by surprise. She is pushed back. I reverse my grip and stab to my left without looking. The courtier falls, a bleeding wound where his heart used to be. 1 down, 2 to go. By the eye, the woman says before moving again, this time more cautiously, and we fight in earnest. I have to admit, her confidence is well-founded. I am faster and stronger, but her technique is exquisite, and my lack of experience fighting duels on open ground shows. She deflects my strikes with economical movements, waiting for an opening, then counter-attacks mercilessly. The courtier by her side almost never attacks, but his presence hovering by her side continues to pose a danger. Their style is the most defensive I have ever faced, and I am starting to think there is some truth to them surviving the fall of their coven. I finally manage to overwhelm her after a flurry of blows that leave the air ringing with the sound of metal on metal. As she stumbles back, I throw 2 daggers with strength. She falls to the side, dodging them. As expected. The satisfied grin on her face fades as soon as she hears the gurgling sound of her companion's shred throat. "I wasn't aiming at you." "No. This isn't over. You were but a child." The man falls incapacitated, the grievous wound too much for him. Only the master is still capable of putting up a fight. Since it worked the first time, I launch another series of furious attacks, culminating in a sweep that knocks her blade from her fingers. Disappointing. I close in for the kill. An immediate sense of danger and urgency makes me falter, and I barely react to her next move. She extends her hand. An instant later, an oversized estoc manifests in it and punches clean through my mask, leaving a deep furrow in my cheek. I fall back and resist the urge to touch the wound. Keeping hidden claws, are we? Let's see how well she uses them. Now that her trap is sprung, she adapts her style to using her sole weapon. Her reach is longer and striking the blade feels like hitting the side of a mountain. I keep moving around her looking for openings, but her defense is flawless and I want to avoid being hurt. Worse, my armor is now useless before this blade. Even the heart protector would only deflect a glancing blow. So hard to crack. So annoying. I could escape her easily, but this is not what I want. I want her to be broken and at my mercy. The small wounds I manage to land do not impede her, and it would take only one lucky hit to take me down. We dance for a while and then I get an opportunity. I block an overhead sweep, and with one last ominous crack, the steel shaft breaks in 2 pieces. She roars in triumph. I let her blade slide along my shoulder plate as I crouch, then push on, closing the distance. I stab at her with the half-spear I now hold. She blocks it before I can bury its cruel edge into her chest. At the same time, I grab her other hand. This is now a contest of strength and I will crush her. She claws pointlessly at the armor's heavily enchanted arm brace, while my own talons dig deep into her flesh until they shatter her wrist. She screams and drops her soul blade, then braces and tries to kick me in the face. Cute. Lambert did it better. I grab her foot and lift it higher, then sweep the other from under her. She falls. I fall on her. RIP her apart. She manages to cover her neck while I straddle her. I slash her arms, painting great lines of blood across the floor. Mine now. I surrender. Please. Surrender? I will eat you. My star. A voice I was not expecting wakes me from my bloodlust. The familiar aura flares at my back, towards the entrance. Who does he think he is? She's my prey, I'm not sharing. What do you want? I growl, and stop savaging my captive. The vanquished one under me stops moving as well. She shows her throat. Good. This is your first fight since you joined our society, the intruder says. And? The decisions you take now will affect the relationship with your peers for years to come. It is customary to accept surrenders when offered unless the conflict is too great. It is also customary to spare our kin whenever feasible. One day, you may be glad that someone extends this courtesy to you. Talk. You talk too much. I win. I feast. This is the way of things. This is the darker path. I ask that you reconsider, my star, at least until the rage of battle abates. And why would I do that? I growl. Because. Tauran starts, then seems to reconsider. His mouth twists into an evil smile as he steps forward, exuding confidence. Because you are being a brat and I will discipline you if you don't. Discipline me? I'd like to see you try. Then come, he answers with a smile, then opens his arms in welcome. He dares. I'll show him who is the queen. I bow before no one. I jump at him, spearhead held tight in my fist. Tauran smiles. He manifests his sole weapon. It is a two-handed sword of ridiculous size, the most intricate and beautiful work I have ever seen bar none. It is even more majestic than Suara's broadsword. Breathtaking. He swipes, so fast that I can barely follow. The spearhead soars into the air. Oh! A hand at the back of my head punches me into the ground. I yelp in pain, then in surprise when 2 talons grab my neck. I try to squirm out but the pressure only increases. I stop fighting. Tauran lifts me by the neck like a kitten until we face each other. With his other hand, he unfastens my mask which falls to the floor. The cold air washes over my face, stinging the wound on my cheek. Better? He asks with a sly voice. Not exactly, I answer. I lick my lips. This is strange. I hate restraints with a passion, and yet Tauran's hand on my neck does not fill me with fury and horror. I trust him implicitly, therefore I am not trapped. I am, however, dominated. The same instincts that pushed me to kill a moment ago now ask that I present my throat so that I do not die, and since it's Tauran, and he is my partner, the sensation is not entirely unpleasant. He did, after all, just crush me. That makes him powerful on top of everything else. Ariane. I will consent to taking them prisoner. Your arguments have weight. We both chuckle, and he releases me. I drop down and lean slightly against his chest, breathing in the scent of him. He is solid under my fingers. His presence is grounding and even relaxing. We stay there for a moment while behind us, the woman helps her second courtier up. The first one she will have to carry. A destroyed heart will not heal in a single night, unless one has access to extremely potent blood. The woman's vessel returns and helps them, and soon, we are ready to depart. We leave the building in a single group. Outside, I find Jarek on top of his monstrosity of a nightmare patiently waiting for us. He lifts a brow when we exit the building with 3 vampires in tow, though he does not comment on it. In laconic fashion, he informs us that Wilhelm escorted your godling and that noisy girl back to the city. The return trip is tamer than its predecessor, and while we ride in silence, I find myself thinking. More specifically, I think of him. Tauron is by my side with his steely gray glare and impeccable poise. His ruddy face makes him look mature and weathered, the kind of man who has seen it all and remains unimpressed. He is a bit terrifying in a warlord kind of way, and he has the body and sword to back it up. Then, he turns to me and his entire demeanor changes. He goes from strict to roguish, and I'm bending to solid in an instant. His traits grow softer. I want him. I want him enough that I no longer fear intimacy. I want to kiss him and feel him and all those other things I know of. Living in a brothel jaded me towards love-making, or so I thought. Overexposure made it a messy, fleshy affair that I had little interest in, something that others did. Now though, I realize that sex is what you make of it, and I really want to make something great. The last remnant of the conservative girl I was complains that we have only known the man for a bit under 2 weeks and that lying with him would make us a hussy. The more mature part of me says that we are technically a 50-year-old spinster and that, really, fuck it. I have waited long enough. Carpe diem, or is it carpe noctem? No matter. I want him. I do. Say Tauron, do you have any plan for the rest of the evening? I ask in what I hope is an unaffected voice. No? He replies with half-lidded eyes. I'm not subtle, am I? Would you care to join me in my room? There is something I would like to show you. Tauron takes a very careful expression. I hope I was not too forward, and that he doesn't think any less of me. Of course, Ariane. You can show me whatever you want. And I thought I was too direct. I frown, but in the end, decide not to take offense. Nobody will take this night from me, not even myself. The door closes behind me. This is it. I am nervous. Tauron walks up and hugs me from behind. I am not tactile, not since I was turned, yet this firm embrace soothes me. Tauron is solid and dependable, and he has shown time and time again that he was there for me, even when I had lost myself. We have known each other for all of 2 weeks, I remember. Somehow it feels longer than that. My lover remains silent. He must have an idea what goes through my mind right now. He knows that I am scared. What he may not know is that I am also eager. It happened during our very short fight, when he showed me the steel under that composure of his. It was not the violence itself but the control and power behind it that made me want him. I turn in his embrace and reach up to kiss him. He is hungrier than before and a bit demanding. My nervousness disappears before his passion and I close my eyes to enjoy the moment. His hands caress my shoulders and my back, and for a while, we just enjoy each other's presence. Rather quickly, I feel something hard push against my belly. Tauron takes a half step away. He knows what I felt. His face is unapologetic, waiting for my decision. Tauron. Be sure what you want, Ariane, because I am done holding myself back. In answer, I place my hand on the flat expanse of his stomach and trail down until I reach the tip of his erect member. Tauron groans and grabs me as I yelp in delight. There's much I want to see, and he is eager to show. For the rest of the night, I know only him. I submerge in piping hot water and luxuriate in the amazing feeling of the warm water surrounding my body. Last night was so great. On one hand, I am horrified that it took me so long to experience lovemaking. On the other hand, it probably had to be Tauran. That man is talented. Dangerously so. A knock on my bedroom door forces me to lift my head off the bathwater. Yes? Guess Melody. Your friends Naminata and Sister Jimena. Those busybodies. I grumble, then louder, let them in, I will join them momentarily. I dry myself in the hurry and pick up a light pink dress which I put on. I leave my hair down and come out into the main room. Look at that slovenly girl, Jimena dear. One night of sin and she has already given up on propriety, a sly voice remarks. That's rich coming from you, Nami. How is Jarek by the way? Hanging around, I'm sure. I wince. I should not get Nami started on him or she'll be debating about the perfect scrotum. For a good 10 minutes. Again. We heard that Tauran spent the night. We are delighted for you, sister, Jimena says. How do you know already? I ask with horror. It takes a lot of effort to keep such things secret in this place. The staff also loves gossip, and as a newcomer yourself, you are a prime target. You must also take recent events into consideration. You mean the trial? The trial, the hearing, your lineage. There are also rumors of an arrangement with Constantine to take over a new region as the entire state of Illinois has been taken off the list of available lands. I did not know that. Your duel with Tauran yesterday morning impressed a few people as well. There are few who can offer a challenge to a warrior like him. And you're so young as well, my little lemon pie. Nami explains. And now you went and nabbed one of this den's most eligible bachelors. I admit that he exceeds all my expectations, I cannot help but remark. The other two smile at each other knowingly. Oh, it is not just that. You don't know why he is here, do you? Nami asks smugly. He mentioned his technical expertise was needed. He was quite vague. Naturally so. He did not want the knowledge of who he really is to affect you. Many would chase him just for what he can do. Whatever do you mean? I ask with suspicion. Naminata smiles knowingly and nods to herself. He is one of the world's few soulsmiths, my sweet. What? He can help masters bring soul weapons into being. That is why he is here. I know what a soulsmith is. Why are you telling me this only now? He requested that we do not share this knowledge and we agreed. On one hand, I understand him. I too, would prefer if someone was attracted to who I am instead of what strategic value I have. On the other, I frown. Have you two and my lover been plotting together all this time? Of course, dear, Nami declares as if it was obvious. From the very beginning, Jimena adds, he came to us for advice on how to best approach our favorite thorny rose. Hey! It is for your own good, my little strawberry, Nami retorts. How else could we get you out of your shell? You needed a very special blend of silk and steel to let yourself go and he was only too happy to provide it. We are delighted that it worked just as planned. I hold my head between my hands. Am I that easy to read? I complain, dejected. You are not. In terms of emotions, however, you are surprisingly consistent, sister, Jimena says with a gentle voice. 'Tis a good thing to be reliable in love and business, unpredictable in schemes and wars, Nami adds. This sounds like good wisdom, especially coming from her. Don't look at me like that, treacle cake, I am predictable in some ways. You always go for the hunkiest beefcake? That too, she answers without a hint of embarrassment. I shake my head. This is a surprise, and though I understand Tauran's choice, we must still have a talk. So Tauran is here to create soul weapons. What about the other two lords who arrived with him? What are their plans? Nami and Jimena glance at each other. Jimena shrugs and Nami starts. We are not sure. The most likely event is an arrangement for both Hastings and Natalus clans to take over a domain, though this is mere speculation. Lady Safar holds a lot of sway in the United Kingdom. She would have to sacrifice it all to come here herself and none of her proteges qualify either. Indeed, Jimena continues, there could be other reasons such as a trade agreement or simply Constantine's expertise. He is possibly the most prominent bloodmage in existence, after all. I bet he isn't. In any case, we will know soon enough. All three of them came to an agreement 2 days ago. An official declaration is sure to follow. Speaking of time, I interject, you have stayed here for a long time, Jimena. Is your position with the Knights assured? It is. I am afforded more flexibility than the squad. Therefore, I can stay here until my next task comes up. Hopefully not too soon. I will stay as well, honey. Nami continues with a devious smile. You always bring me the best and most interesting things. Are you referring to the Murghol hounds? Absolutely. The Book of Lives can be accessed via several physical tomes, one of which is in New Orleans under Cow's care. I already shared that hunt, including its last glorious moment. You're famous. A dreadful foreboding fills my heart. We are talking about my incredible stunt, right? The part where I threw a lead powder charge down the beast's gullet? She just smiles. We imbue the recollection with a smidgen of essence. Your face just after the creature projectile vomited on your back was so priceless. Nami. It was. And now the whole of Clan Ekon is grateful for your contribution. I received several commendations for having saved your life back in New Orleans. Some call me the Devourer Wrangler. Forget I asked. I reply, appalled. Jimena smiles knowingly and asks in turn. Speaking of embarrassment, how is Urchin doing? Remember that you can always cast him out if he fails your expectations. He is doing adequately. I sent him to get a new wardrobe and I have taught him better posture, manner and, most importantly, proper arcade. My hope is to have him promoted from street thug to fancy highwayman by the end of the year. He does not know the tongue. You do not have to teach him yourself, you know. Constantine has several books available for self-studies. That would help if he knew how to read. You must be joking. Alas, no. Why are you even surprised? You were correct, of course. I wonder who changed him and what pushed them to do so. There are rumors that Vanheim him or herself is to blame for these random occurrences. You don't say. Urchin would be a first-generation vampire. Like me? Hard to say. The Vanheim progenitor is barely more than a legend at this stage. I see. At this moment, Solveig stands up to answer a knock on the door. She walks back to give me an envelope. It contains a message from Wilhelm requesting my presence, quite possibly to pay back the favor he did for me yesterday. I dislike having debts, and so I take my leave of the others and go see what the steward wants from me. Tobe continued, thanks for listening.